Lucas Mitchell, a millionaire obsessed with success, ignored his family for years. But when he discovers he has a daughter he never knew existed, the choice between his empire and his heart becomes clear. Before we dive into the story, let's do what Sleepless in Seattle taught us. Share where you're listening from. Comment below. The morning sun slices through floor-to-ceiling windows, casting long shadows across Lucas Mitchell's penthouse office. He stands before the glass wall, Manhattan spread beneath him like a circuit board coming alive with the dawn. Streams of yellow taxis pulse through the arteries of Fifth Avenue. Digital displays flicker to life on surrounding buildings, stock tickers and advertisements painting the glass facades in electric blue. Lucas adjusts his collar, catching his reflection in the window. At 38, he still cuts an impressive figure. Tall, athletic, clothes tailored to emphasize both. But something hollow lurks behind his hazel eyes, a void that even the spectacular view can't fill. 3 monitors glow on his desk, each displaying a different aspect of Mitchell Technology's latest quarterly reports. Revenue projections climb steadily upward, share prices maintain their bullish trajectory, and acquisition targets line up like dominoes waiting to fall. Success measured in clean lines and upward trends. His phone buzzes. Lucas glances at the screen, his mother's name appearing above a string of unanswered messages. He slides the phone face down, turning instead to the closest monitor. Numbers are easier. Numbers don't ask uncomfortable questions about holiday plans or remind him of empty rooms in a too large apartment. The silence wraps around him like an expensive suit, familiar and constraining. Even his footsteps are absorbed by the plush carpet as he moves to his desk, settling into the ergonomic chair that probably cost more than some people's monthly rent. Everything in the space speaks of carefully curated luxury. The abstract art on the walls, the rare bourbon displayed but never opened, the awards gathering dust on floating shelves. Lucas pulls up the morning's first video conference, checking his reflection one last time in the laptop camera. The mask slides into place with practiced ease. CEO, leader, success story. The young tech visionary who built Mitchell Technologies from the ground up. He straightens his shoulders, clicks join meeting, and begins another day of building his empire, one pixel at a time. The morning passes in a blur of meetings, each bleeding into the next like watercolors left in rain. Lucas moves through them with mechanical precision, his responses measured, his decisions swift and certain. The board members nod along as he outlines the company's expansion plans. Department heads take furious notes as he sets quarterly targets. Every interaction follows a familiar script, comfortable in its predictability. "Excellent presentation, Mr. Mitchell," Jennifer Thompson, his COO, says as they exit the main conference room. She falls into step beside him, tablet clutched to her chest like a shield. The board seemed particularly impressed with the Asian market projections. Lucas nods, already scanning emails on his phone. "Schedule a follow-up with the Singapore team. I want to fast-track the expansion timeline." Of course. Jennifer's heels click against the polished floor as she keeps pace. "Oh, and your mother called the office again. She said she's been trying to reach you." "Handle it," Lucas cuts her off, his tone brooking no argument. "Tell her I'm in meetings all day." Jennifer's pause speaks volumes. She seemed insistent. Something about Christmas plans. Lucas stops walking, turning to face his COO. The fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows across her features, highlighting the concern she's trying to mask with professionalism. "Jennifer, what do I pay you for?" To manage operations, he repeats, his voice dropping to that quiet register that makes board members squirm. "Not to play family counselor. Handle it." He continues down the hallway, leaving Jennifer and the weight of his mother's concern behind. The open office space parts before him like a sea, employees ducking their heads or suddenly finding their screens fascinating as he passes. Their fear or respect, he stopped distinguishing between the 2 years ago, creates a buffer zone of silence that follows him to his private elevator. The doors slide shut with a soft chime, and Lucas lets out a breath he didn't realize he was holding. His reflection fragments across the mirrored walls, multiplying the slight slump of his shoulders, the loosening of his tie. For a moment he sees himself as others might, successful, powerful, utterly alone. His phone buzzes again. This time, it's a calendar notification. Quarterly strategy review, 2 p.m. Lucas straightens, adjusts his tie, rebuilds the walls that momentarily cracked. By the time the elevator reaches the executive floor, the mask is firmly back in place. The afternoon sun has begun its descent behind the city's western towers when the first cracks appear in Lucas's carefully ordered world. It starts small, a server crash in the Singapore office causing a cascade of delayed meetings and frustrated clients. Then a major investor calls, questioning the aggressive expansion timeline. The stock price dips, just slightly, but enough to set off alerts on Lucas's phone. He stands at his window again, watching the city lights flicker to life as dusk settles over Manhattan. His reflection looks tired, the perfect creases in his suit showing signs of wear. Another buzz from his phone, but this time he picks it up. His mother's latest message glowing on the screen. "Christmas at my place? It's been too long. I miss you." The words hit him with unexpected force, stirring memories he usually keeps carefully locked away. Christmas mornings in the suburbs, his mother's cooking filling the house with warmth and spice. And later, other Christmases with Hannah. Lucas closes his eyes, but the image forms anyway. Hannah Rivers, laughing as she tried to hang ornaments on his minimalist tree, insisting that his apartment needed some actual Christmas spirit, not just designer decorations. Her dark hair catching the light, her eyes sparkling with a joy he never quite understood. The memory dissolves as his phone rings. Singapore again, another crisis requiring his immediate attention. Lucas turns from the window, pushing thoughts of Christmas and Hannah back into their designated box. He has an empire to run after all. Family dinners and old memories won't keep the stock price up or the board satisfied. But as he talks through technical specifications with the Singapore team, his mother's message seems to hover in his peripheral vision, a ghost of something warmer than quarterly reports and profit margins. The evening stretches ahead, empty except for more meetings, more emails, more numbers on screens. Lucas ends the call, silence settling over his office like dust. In the gathering darkness, the city below pulses with life. Millions of people heading home to families, to connections, to something more than empty penthouses and unopened bottles of bourbon. His phone lights up again. "Lucas, please, just answer me about Christmas. It's important." Something in his mother's tone, even through text, catches him off guard. Eleanor Mitchell rarely pleads. She might guilt, she might manipulate, but she doesn't beg. Lucas finds himself typing before he can think better of it. "What's so important about this Christmas?" The response comes quickly. "There's someone you need to see, someone from your past." Lucas's fingers hover over the keyboard, a chill running down his spine. "Who?" The three dots appear and disappear several times before his mother's answer arrives. "Hannah Rivers, and there's something you need to know." The name hits him like a physical blow. Hannah Rivers. The woman he'd pushed away 5 years ago, too focused on building his empire to notice she was slipping through his fingers. The last person he'd let close enough to matter. "What about Hannah?" He types the words carefully, each letter an effort at control. "She's coming to Christmas dinner. And Lucas, she's not coming alone." The city lights blur before him as implications spiral through his mind. Not alone. What does that mean? Has she married? Started a family? The thought sends an unexpected spike of pain through his chest. His mother's next message arrives before he can respond. "You need to come home for Christmas, Lucas. It's time you knew the truth." Truth. Such a simple word for something that feels like a bomb waiting to detonate. Lucas sets the phone down, turning to stare at his reflection in the darkened windows. The successful CEO stares back, but now the mask seems thin, transparent enough to show the uncertainty beneath. His phone buzzes one final time. Lucas picks it up slowly, as if it might burn him. "She has a daughter, Lucas. Your daughter. Her name is Lily. She's 5 years old." The words swim before his eyes, refusing to make sense. A daughter, 5 years old. The math does the cruel calculation for him. Right around the time Hannah left, when he was too busy with the company's IPO to notice her growing distance, her silence, her final goodbye. Lucas Mitchell, the man who built an empire on control and calculation, feels his carefully constructed world begin to crumble. Outside his window, the city continues its eternal pulse, unaware that in a penthouse high above its streets, a man's life has just shattered into pieces no spreadsheet can put back together. "I'll be there," he types, the words feeling both momentous and utterly inadequate. Christmas Eve. His mother's response is simple. Finally. Lucas stands in his darkened office, the screens behind him still displaying their endless streams of data and projections. But for the first time in years, the numbers seem meaningless, unable to quantify the weight of what he's just learned, or the path that lies ahead. A father. He's been a father for 5 years without knowing it. The thought settles over him like a heavy blanket, smothering his usual certainty, his careful plans, his controlled existence. In its place grows something unfamiliar, a mixture of terror and possibility, of regret and hope. The night deepens around him, but Lucas doesn't move from his vigil at the window. Somewhere out there, in a world he spent years avoiding, a little girl exists. His daughter. And in a few days, he'll have to face not only her, but the woman he let slip away. The life he might have had if he'd made different choices. The city lights flicker below, each one a reminder of the lives being lived, the connections being made and broken, the stories unfolding in countless windows. For the first time in years, Lucas Mitchell feels the full weight of his solitude and the urgent need to bridge the gap between the life he's built and the one he never knew he had. Tomorrow, he'll return to being the CEO, the leader, the success story. But tonight, in the quiet darkness of his penthouse, he allows himself to be something else, a man confronting the cost of his choices and the possibility that some things matter more than empire building after all. His reflection stares back at him from the window, a shadow against the glittering city backdrop. In the glass, he sees not just the man he is, but glimpses of the man he might need to become, for Hannah, for Lily, for himself. The night stretches ahead, full of possibilities and fears, as Lucas Mitchell begins the long journey from the certainty of his controlled existence to the messy, complicated reality of the life he never knew he had. The days until Christmas Eve pass in a blur of meetings and preparations. Lucas barely registers the details of 3 major acquisitions, his mind constantly returning to the thought of a little girl with his eyes. He makes calls, cancels his usual holiday trip to the Maldives, and finds himself standing in FAO Schwartz one evening, staring helplessly at rows of toys before leaving empty-handed. Finally, Christmas Eve arrives. The brick colonial looms before Lucas, Christmas lights outlining its windows like a child's drawing come to life. He sits in his parked Tesla, engine off, watching snowflakes dissolve against the windshield. The house seems smaller than he remembers, yet somehow more intimidating than any boardroom he's faced. His mother's silver Volvo sits in the circular drive, joined by an unfamiliar blue Honda with a car seat visible through the rear window. The sight makes his stomach clench. Real. This is real. Lucas checks his reflection in the rearview mirror, adjusting his cashmere scarf with hands that refuse to remain steady. He'd chosen casual clothes, dark jeans, a charcoal sweater, but still feels overdressed, too polished for this moment. The porch light flickers on. Lucas takes a deep breath, releases it slowly, and steps out into the December chill. His Italian leather boots crunch against fresh snow as he approaches the door, each step carrying the weight of 5 years' worth of unknowing absence. Before he can knock, the door swings open. Eleanor Mitchell stands in the warm light, her silver hair swept back, wearing the same Christmas apron he remembers from childhood. "Lucas." Her voice carries a mix of relief and apprehension. She reaches for him, then seems to think better of it. "You're early." Traffic was light. The words feel inadequate, but they're all he can manage. Movement behind Eleanor draws his attention. A small figure darts past, all dark curls and red velvet dress, disappearing around the corner with a flash of patent leather shoes. "Lily," Eleanor calls. "Come back and say hello to—" "Let her be, Mom." Hannah's voice carries from the living room, still as clear and direct as he remembers. This isn't easy for any of us. Lucas steps into the foyer, the familiar scent of pine and cinnamon wrapping around him. Hannah emerges from the living room, and 5 years dissolve like snow on warm skin. She looks different, stronger somehow, her dark hair shorter, professional, but her eyes are the same, deep brown and unflinching as they meet his. No trace remains of the young woman who used to laugh at his obsession with spreadsheets. This Hannah carries herself with the quiet confidence of someone who's faced harder battles than corporate takeovers. Hannah. Her name comes out rough, unpracticed. Lucas. She matches his tone, neutral but with undercurrents he can't quite read. You look successful. The word hangs between them, heavy with unspoken accusations. Eleanor glances between them, then retreats toward the kitchen, leaving them alone in the foyer's charged silence. A small noise draws Lucas's attention. Lily peers around the doorframe, one hand clutching a worn stuffed rabbit. His heart stutters at the sight of her face. His eyes, Hannah's chin, a perfect blend of past and present studying him with solemn curiosity. "Lily," Hannah says softly, "come meet Lucas." The girl steps forward, her movements deliberate, controlled. Even her posture reminds Lucas of board presentations, of calculated risks and measured responses. But she's so small, so real, her presence shattering every wall he's built around himself. "Hello?" Lily's voice carries surprising clarity for a 5-year-old. "Are you my father?" The question hits like a physical blow. Lucas looks to Hannah, who watches with carefully guarded eyes, then back to this tiny person who carries his DNA and Hannah's direct approach. "Yes," he manages, his CEO's voice deserting him. I am." Lily nods, processing this information with a seriousness that makes his chest ache. "Mommy said you were busy. Are you still busy?" "Aye." The practiced explanations die in his throat. Board meetings, quarterly reports, expansion plans, none of it seems to matter under his daughter's steady gaze. Not anymore. Hannah makes a small sound, something between disbelief and hope. Lucas meets her eyes over Lily's head, seeing in them all the years he missed, all the moments he can never reclaim. Lily steps closer, head tilted as she studies him. "Your eyes look like mine." "Yes," Hannah says quietly. "They do." The three of them stand in the foyer, snow falling silently beyond the windows, as years of choices and consequences settle around them like dust in sunlight. Lucas Mitchell, the man who built an empire on predictability and control, finds himself completely unmoored, adrift in a sea of possibilities he never planned for. Eleanor's voice drifts from the kitchen, something about dinner being ready soon, but Lucas barely hears it. His world has narrowed to this moment, to Hannah's guarded expression and Lily's curious eyes. His eyes, taking in every detail of his face. The empire he's built suddenly feels like a house of cards, fragile and hollow compared to the solid reality of his daughter standing before him, waiting to see what kind of father he might become. Lucas stares at Lily, his daughter's presence shattering the careful walls he's built around his emotions. The living room feels too small, too warm, the Christmas decorations a blur of red and green at the edges of his vision. His hands clench and unclench at his sides, searching for something to hold on to as his world tilts on its axis. "Why now, Hannah?" The words escape through gritted teeth, his CEO's voice cracking under the weight of revelation. 5 years. You kept this from me for 5 years?" Hannah stands her ground, one hand resting protectively on Lily's shoulder. Her composure only fuels his anger, her calculated mirror of his own carefully constructed facades. "I tried to tell you, Lucas, that last month I called your office 17 times. You were always in meetings, always too busy." "Too busy?" His laugh comes out harsh, brittle. "You could have tried harder." Could have what?" Hannah's voice remains steady, but her eyes flash. "Staged a sit-in at your office? Fought past your army of assistants? You made your priorities very clear." Lily shifts under her mother's hand, her small face pinched with confusion. Eleanor hovers in the doorway, her presence a silent reminder of all the family gatherings Lucas has missed, all the moments lost to conference calls and quarterly reports. "I had a right to know." His voice drops to that dangerous quiet he uses in boardrooms when deals are about to collapse. "She's my daughter, and you're her father." Hannah meets his gaze unflinchingly. "But biology doesn't make up for 5 years of absence. You weren't there for her first steps, her first words. You weren't there when she pneumonia at age 2 and spent a week in the hospital. You weren't there because you chose not to be there." Each word hits like a physical blow. Lucas's chest tightens, memories of missed calls and deleted voicemails flooding back. He'd been so focused on the IPO, on building his empire. The world narrows to Lily's hazel eyes, his eyes, watching him with a mixture of curiosity and wariness. "I need..." The words stick in his throat. "I need a minute." He turns sharply, ignoring Eleanor's concerned call of his name, and strides toward the stairs. His feet remember the path to his old bedroom, muscle memory carrying him up and away from the weight of revelation below. The door closes behind him with a soft click that feels like a gunshot in the silence. The room remains unchanged, a time capsule of his teenage years. Academic trophies line the shelves, early evidence of his drive for success. Lucas sinks onto the edge of his old bed, the springs creaking in protest. His reflection fragments across the mirror on his old desk. Successful CEO, absent father, man coming undone at the seams. A gentle knock breaks through his spiraling thoughts. Lucas? Eleanor's voice carries that same tone she used when he was young, when skinned knees and failed tests seemed like the end of the world. May I come in? He doesn't answer, but the door opens anyway. Eleanor Mitchell steps inside, her Christmas apron dusted with flour, her eyes carrying the weight of too many secrets kept. You can't hide up here forever. She settles beside him on the bed, close but not touching. There's a little girl downstairs who deserves better than that. I don't know how to be a father. The admission scrapes his throat raw. I don't know how to fix this. No one knows how to be a parent at first. Eleanor's hand finds his shoulder, warm and steady, but avoiding them won't solve anything. Lily deserves to know you, Lucas, and you deserve to know her. Lucas stares at his hands, the same hands that have signed million-dollar contracts and shaped the future of technology. They feel useless now, inadequate for the task of building bridges across 5 years of absence. What if I make it worse? The question comes out barely above a whisper. The only way to truly make it worse is to walk away again. Eleanor stands, straightening her apron. Come downstairs. Start small. She likes to draw. Maybe you could color with her for a while. The suggestion seems absurd. Lucas Mitchell, CEO of Mitchell Technologies, sitting down with crayons. But the alternative, retreating back into his carefully ordered world and leaving another void in Lily's life, feels impossible now. I'll try. He rises, adjusting his sweater with hands that refuse to remain steady. But Hannah has spent 5 years being both mother and father to that child. Eleanor's voice carries an edge of steel. She's earned her anger, Lucas. Your job isn't to defend yourself. Your job is to show up, starting now. The walk downstairs feels longer than any boardroom presentation. Lucas finds Hannah and Lily in the living room, his daughter kneeling at the coffee table with colored pencils scattered around her like fallen leaves. She looks up as he enters, her small face serious. Would you? Lucas clears his throat, trying again. Would you like some company? Lily studies him for a long moment, then slides a blank piece of paper across the table. Do you know how to draw dragons? I'm afraid not. Lucas lowers himself to the floor, his designer jeans pressed against the carpet. But I'm willing to learn. Hannah watches from the couch, her expression guarded, but something softer flickering in her eyes. Lucas picks up a green pencil, its wooden length feeling foreign in his grip. Lily begins to explain the proper way to draw dragon scales, her small voice serious and certain. The next hour passes in a blur of wobbly lines and careful instruction. Lucas's dragons look more like deformed lizards, but Lily's patient corrections never waver. Each stroke of the pencil feels like laying foundation stones, small but vital steps toward something he never knew he needed. That's better, Lily declares, examining his third attempt. But the wings are too small. Dragons need big wings to fly. Like this? Lucas adjusts his drawing, following her lead. Almost. She leans over, her dark curls brushing his arm as she demonstrates the proper wing shape. The casual contact sends a jolt through him. This is his daughter, his flesh and blood, teaching him about dragon anatomy with the serious dedication he usually reserves for quarterly reports. A phone buzzes, the sound harsh in the quiet room. Lucas reaches for his pocket automatically, then freezes as Hannah's eyes narrow. The device feels like a bomb in his hand, the screen displaying an urgent message from his Singapore office. Crisis. Emergency board meeting required. Immediate response needed. 5 years ago, he would have been halfway to his car already, the need to maintain control of his empire overriding all else. Now, with Lily's dragon tutorial paused mid-sentence, the choice crystallizes with painful clarity. Lucas turns off the phone. The gesture doesn't go unnoticed. Hannah's posture softens slightly, though her eyes remain cautious. Lily continues her lesson, unaware of the silent exchange between her parents. Lucas forces himself to focus on the paper before him, on the simple act of drawing with his daughter, even as his mind catalogs potential disasters unfolding across the Pacific. Time for dinner. Eleanor announces from the doorway, her timing suspicious in its perfection. Lily, would you help me set the table? Lily bounces up, her artwork temporarily forgotten. Can I use the fancy plates? Of course, dear. Eleanor shepherds her toward the dining room, leaving Lucas and Hannah alone with their unfinished dragons and unspoken words. You turned off your phone. Hannah's voice carries a note of surprise. Yes. Lucas meets her gaze steadily. I did. That's new. She stands, smoothing her skirt. But one afternoon of coloring doesn't make up for 5 years, Lucas. I know. He rises as well, his knees protesting the hour spent on the floor. But it's a start. The moment fractures as Lily calls from the dining room, something about proper napkin folding techniques. Hannah moves to help, leaving Lucas alone with the scattered drawings. He gathers them carefully, each crude attempt at dragons representing more than just graphite on paper. The Singapore crisis lurks at the edges of his thoughts, a constant reminder of the life he's built. But for the first time, that life feels hollow compared to the simple act of sitting on the floor, learning to draw with his daughter. Dinner proves to be another minefield of emotions. Eleanor's traditional Christmas Eve spread fills the table: honey-glazed ham, roasted vegetables, freshly baked rolls that steam when broken open. The familiar scents clash with the unfamiliarity of having Lily at the table, her presence both natural and startling. Please pass the potatoes, Lily requests, her impeccable manners a reflection of Hannah's influence. Lucas reaches for the dish, nearly colliding with Hannah as she does the same. Their fingers brush, a moment of contact that sends memories cascading through his mind. Late nights in his first apartment, takeout containers, and shared dreams. Hannah's laugh as she teased him about his 5-year plan. Sorry, they murmur in unison, the word carrying different weights for each of them. Tell Lucas about your school play, Eleanor suggests, breaking the tension. You were wonderful as the star. Lily brightens, launching into a detailed description of her role in the kindergarten Christmas pageant. Lucas listens, really listens, cataloging every detail of his daughter's life that he's missed. Each revelation feels like a paper cut to his conscience, small but stinging, accumulating into a deeper pain. Mom made my costume, Lily adds proudly. She stays up late sewing lots of things. Hannah shifts in her seat, discomfort flashing across her face. Lucas reads between the lines. Late night sewing means extra income, means single mother making ends meet while he lives in a penthouse with an unused bourbon collection. Do you still paint? The question escapes before he can stop it. Hannah's art had been a point of contention in their relationship, her creativity at odds with his practical nature. When I have time. Hannah's tone carries a sharp edge. Between work and raising our daughter alone, hobby time is limited. The word our hits him like a physical blow. Our daughter. Our responsibility. Our failed relationship. I'm sorry, he says quietly, the words feeling insufficient. I should have been there. Yes, Hannah agrees, her fork scraping against fine china. You should have. Lily glances between them, her small face pinched with confusion. The weight of adult tensions sits heavy on her shoulders, and Lucas realizes with a start that she's probably carried this weight her whole life. The unexplained absence of a father, the careful answers to innocent questions. More ham? Eleanor offers, ever the mediator. The meal continues, conversation flowing around islands of unspoken words. Lucas watches Lily cut her food into precise bites, notices how she arranges her vegetables by color before eating them. These small habits fascinate him. Which ones come from Hannah? Which are uniquely Lily? What parts of himself might he see in her, given time? A crash from the kitchen shatters the careful peace. Eleanor hurries to investigate, leaving Lucas, Hannah, and Lily in a triangle of complicated emotions. May I be excused? Lily asks, her plate nearly empty. Hannah nods, and their daughter slides from her chair with practiced grace. She disappears into the living room, leaving her parents with no buffer between them. She's amazing, Lucas says softly, watching the space where Lily had been. She is. Hannah's voice carries pride and protective steel. No thanks to you. The words spark something in Lucas, a defensive fire he usually reserves for hostile takeover attempts. I didn't know, Hannah. You never gave me the chance. Chance? Hannah's laugh holds no humor. You had chances every day for months before I left. Every time you canceled dinner, every time you missed a call, every time you chose your precious company over us. Those were all chances, Lucas. I was building something important, and I was building a human being. Hannah's control cracks, her voice rising. While you were constructing your empire, I was constructing a life for our daughter. Doctor's appointments, preschool applications, midnight fevers, and first steps, all of it alone, because you couldn't see past the next quarterly report. Lucas stands abruptly, his chair scraping against hardwood. You think I wouldn't have helped? You think I wouldn't have wanted to be there? I think you wouldn't have noticed we were gone if my lawyer hadn't contacted yours about child support. Hannah rises as well, her height no match for his, but her presence filling the room, and even then you handled it through intermediaries. 5 years of checks, and not once did you ask about her. I thought they were settlement payments. The admission tastes like ash. For the shares you held in the company's early days. I didn't know. Of course you didn't. Hannah's voice drops to a whisper. You never looked closely enough at anything that wasn't printed on company letterhead. Movement catches Lucas's eye. Lily stands in the doorway, her small face a study in confusion and hurt. She clutches her stuffed rabbit, the one she'd held when they first met, like a shield against adult anger. Are you fighting because of me? Her voice sounds so small, so unlike the confident child who taught him about dragon wings. The question hits them both like a physical blow. Hannah moves first, crossing to their daughter with open arms. No, sweetheart, we're just talking about grown-up things. Lucas remains frozen, watching Hannah comfort their daughter with practiced ease. Every soothing word, every gentle touch highlights his own inadequacy as a parent. He doesn't know how to comfort a crying child. He doesn't know his own daughter's favorite color or whether she sleeps with a nightlight. Perhaps we should all take a break. Eleanor's voice carries from the kitchen doorway. She wipes her hands on her apron, canned flour dusting her silver hair. Lily, would you help me make hot chocolate? I have those little marshmallows you like. Lily nods against Hannah's shoulder, then pulls away. She passes Lucas without looking up, disappearing into the kitchen with Eleanor. The sound of cupboards opening and mugs clinking provides a mundane counterpoint to the tension still crackling between her parents. I should take her home. Hannah smooths her skirt, rebuilding her composure. This was a mistake. Please. The word scrapes Lucas's throat raw. Don't go. Why not? Give me one good reason why we should stay. Lucas opens his mouth, closes it. The reasons tangle in his throat, because I just found out I'm a father, because she has my eyes, because I've missed so much already. None of them feel adequate, because I want to try. He finally manages, the words barely above a whisper. Because she deserves better than what I've been, because you both do. Hannah studies him, really looks at him for the first time since their reunion. Words are easy, Lucas. You always did have a gift for persuasive speeches, but Lily needs more than pretty words and good intentions. I know. He takes a step forward, then stops as Hannah tenses. I know I can't make up for 5 years in one night, but I want to start. Please, Hannah, let me try. The silence stretches between them, heavy with history and hurt. From the kitchen comes the sound of Lily's laugh, bright and clear, as Eleanor presumably adds extra marshmallows to her hot chocolate. Finally, Hannah sighs. One step at a time, Lucas, and the first step is not running away when things get difficult. It's not forgiveness, not even close, but it's a chance, fragile as a soap bubble and just as likely to burst. Lucas nods, understanding the weight of the opportunity being offered. One step at a time, he agrees. They move toward the kitchen, drawn by the scent of chocolate and the sound of their daughter's voice. Lucas catches his reflection in a window. Successful CEO, absent father, man learning to rebuild bridges he never knew he'd burned. The image blurs, transforming into something new, something uncertain but possibly better. In the kitchen, Lily sits at the counter, marshmallows dotting her upper lip like tiny clouds. She looks up as they enter, her eyes, his eyes, carrying a wisdom beyond her years. Would you like some hot chocolate? She asks Lucas, offering an olive branch with the simple grace of childhood. Lucas nods, his throat tight. I'd like that very much. It's a small step, barely a beginning. But as he accepts a steaming mug from Eleanor, as Hannah settles onto the stool beside their daughter, as the night wraps around them like a warm blanket, Lucas realizes that sometimes the smallest steps lead to the most important journeys. The crisis in Singapore can wait. For now, there are marshmallows to count and bridges to build, one cup of hot chocolate at a time. The evening winds down quietly, with Lily eventually dozing off on the couch and being carried up to bed by Hannah. Lucas lies awake long into the night in his old room, his mind racing with possibilities and fears, until exhaustion finally claims him. The next morning finds Lucas perched awkwardly on Eleanor's living room floor, surrounded by Lily's scattered toys. Christmas Eve has morphed into Christmas morning, and his attempts at play feel as stiff as his board meeting posture. "That's not how you do it," Lily sighs, watching him struggle with her dollhouse furniture. "The table goes in the kitchen, not the bathroom." "Right." Lucas moves the tiny table, his large hands clumsy with the delicate pieces. "Of course." Hannah observes from the doorway, arms crossed, her silence heavy with judgment. Each fumbled attempt at connection seems to confirm her worst fears, that he's too far removed from normal life to be any kind of father. "Can we build something else?" Lucas suggests, desperate to find solid ground. He reaches for a set of building blocks, something concrete and structural that might align with his skill set. "I want to have a tea party," Lily declares instead, already setting up tiny cups. "You have to use your princess voice." Lucas freezes, past panic fluttering in his chest. "Princess voice?" He glances at Hannah, finding no help in her carefully neutral expression. "I'm not sure I know how." "Just pretend," Lily insists, passing him a cup the size of his thumb. "Like this. Would you care for more tea, Mr. Rabbit?" Her voice rises in a sophisticated lilt that would sound at home in Buckingham Palace. A notification buzzes against his hip. Lucas ignores it, though his fingers twitch toward the phone. Another buzz follows, then another. The Singapore crisis hasn't resolved itself overnight. "Your turn," Lily prompts, oblivious to his internal struggle. Lucas clears his throat. "Would you, like some tea?" "That's not a princess voice!" Lily's face scrunches in disappointment. "You're not even trying." The words hit harder than any boardroom criticism. Hannah shifts in the doorway, probably expecting him to retreat back into his comfortable world of spreadsheets and profit margins. Another buzz. Lucas pulls out his phone, scanning the messages rapidly. The Singapore deal is imploding. Millions in potential revenue hang in the balance. His COO's increasingly urgent texts scroll past. "Need your input now," and board members demanding explanation, and "Are you there?" Lucas. Hannah's voice carries a warning. "Put the phone away." "I just need 5 minutes," he says, already standing. "It's an emergency. It's always an emergency." The bitterness in Hannah's tone cuts deep. Some things never change. Lily looks up from her tea party, confusion clouding her features. "Are you leaving?" "No, I'm just..." Lucas gestures vaguely with his phone. "I need to make a quick call." "That's what you always said to Mommy," Lily says quietly, "before you stopped coming home." The simple observation, delivered in a child's matter-of-fact tone, freezes Lucas in place. Hannah inhales sharply, moving to Lily's side with protective instinct. "I didn't." Lucas starts, but the defense dies in his throat. His phone continues to buzz, each vibration a choice between his old life and the possibility of something new. "Go ahead," Hannah says, her voice tight. "Take your call. Show her exactly who you are." Lucas stares at his phone, at the mounting crisis that yesterday would have consumed his full attention. The Singapore deal represents months of work, millions in potential revenue, countless hours of negotiation. His board will be furious. The stock price might take a hit. He turns off the phone. The action feels both terrifying and liberating, like stepping off a cliff and finding unexpected wings. Lucas returns to his spot on the floor, picks up the tiny teacup, and forces his voice into the most ridiculous approximation of a British accent he can manage. "Would you care for more tea, Mr. Rabbit? The weather is simply divine for a garden party." Lily's startled laugh makes every second of discomfort worth it. Even Hannah's posture softens slightly, though wariness still lingers in her eyes. The morning progresses in small moments of connection and failure. Lucas learns the proper way to serve imaginary tea, fumbles through a game of Candyland, and attempts to help Lily dress her dolls for a winter ball. Each activity feels foreign, like trying to perform surgery with oven mitts. "You're doing it wrong again," Lily sighs, watching him struggle with a doll's tiny dress. "The buttons go in the back. Sorry." Lucas rotates the dress, feeling the weight of Hannah's gaze. "I'm not very good at this." No, Hannah agrees from her perch on the couch. You're not, but at least you're here. The words carry a complex mix of criticism and grudging acknowledgement. Lucas focuses on the tiny buttons, each one a reminder of all the simple parenting tasks he never learned to perform. Eleanor drifts in and out, offering snacks and gentle encouragement. Her presence helps smooth the awkward edges of their interactions, but even she can't entirely bridge the gap created by 5 years of absence. As morning bleeds into afternoon, the tension in the room slowly ratchets higher. Every missed social cue, every fumbled attempt at play, every moment of parental inadequacy adds another brick to the wall between Lucas and his newfound family. The breaking point comes during Christmas dinner preparations. Lily, excited to help in the kitchen, accidentally knocks over a bowl of cranberry sauce. The red liquid spreads across the counter like spilled wine. It's okay, Hannah starts, already reaching for paper towels. Here, let me. Lucas moves to help, his CEO's instinct to take control kicking in. I can do it, Lily insists, grabbing for the paper towels herself. All three collide in a tangle of good intentions, sending the bowl clattering to the floor. Cranberry sauce spatters across Lucas's designer sweater, Lily's Christmas dress, and Hannah's slacks. I was trying to help, Lily's voice rises, tears threatening. This is exactly what I meant, Hannah snaps, her composure finally cracking. You can't just step in and take over, Lucas. You don't know her routine, her preferences, how she handles accidents. You can't make up for 5 years by charging in like this is another corporate takeover. Then tell me how. Lucas's voice rises to match hers. Tell me what I'm supposed to do, Hannah, because every time I try, you're there watching, judging, waiting for me to fail. Can you blame me? Hannah's laugh holds no humor. Your solution to every problem is to either take control or retreat to your office. There's no middle ground with you, Lucas. There never was. Stop fighting! Lily's cry cuts through their argument. She stands in the middle of the cranberry massacre, red sauce staining her white tights, tears streaming down her face. I don't want Christmas anymore. She bolts from the kitchen, leaving her parents standing in the aftermath of their explosion. The sound of her footsteps pounding up the stairs echoes through the house, followed by a door slamming. Eleanor appears in the doorway, taking in the scene with tired eyes. Well, she says quietly, I suppose this is what rock bottom looks like. Lucas stares at the red stains on his sweater, at the mess on the floor, at the space where his daughter stood moments ago. Every mistake, every missed opportunity, every wrong step seems condensed into this single moment of failure. Hannah breaks the silence first. I should go check on her. No. Lucas surprises himself by speaking. Let me, please. Hannah studies him for a long moment, conflict clear in her expression. Finally, she nods. Don't make it worse. Lucas climbs the stairs slowly, each step heavy with the weight of consequence. He finds Lily in his old room, curled up on the bed he occupied just yesterday. She clutches her stuffed rabbit, her small shoulders shaking with sobs. He pauses in the doorway, struck by the sight of his daughter seeking refuge in the same space where he'd retreated from the truth of her existence. The symmetry feels like both judgment and opportunity. Lily? He keeps his voice soft, uncertain. May I come in? A small nod is his only answer. Lucas enters carefully, settling on the edge of the bed like approaching a wounded animal. The springs creak under his weight, an oddly comforting sound in the tension-filled silence. I'm sorry, he says finally, for fighting with your mom, for not being better at this, for not being here all along. Lily sniffles, her face still buried in her rabbit's fur. Are you going to leave again? The question cuts deeper than any board member's criticism, any market downturn, any failed deal. No, Lucas promises, the word carrying the weight of revolution. I'm not going anywhere. She peeks up at him, eyes red-rimmed but hopeful. Even when I spill things? Even then. Lucas manages a small smile, although maybe we should practice our cranberry sauce handling techniques. A tiny giggle escapes through the tears. Lily sits up slowly, her dress hopelessly stained, but her expression clearing. Mommy says practice makes perfect. Your mom is very wise. Lucas hesitates, then adds, and very strong. She's done an amazing job raising you all by herself. She works really hard. Lily picks at a spot of cranberry sauce on her tights. Sometimes she cries when she thinks I'm sleeping. The confession hits Lucas like a physical blow. He thinks of Hannah, younger and alone, dealing with midnight fevers and school forms and all the countless moments he should have shared. The weight of his absence settles around his shoulders like a lead cape. "I want to help now," he says quietly, "if you'll let me. Both of you." Lily considers this with the serious expression he's coming to recognize. "Can you learn to do princess voices?" "I'll practice every day." Lucas holds out his hand, pinky extended. "Pinky, promise." She links her tiny finger with his, the gesture feeling more binding than any contract he's ever signed. "Okay, but you have to stop fighting with Mommy." "I'll try." Lucas squeezes her finger gently. "That's a promise too." They sit together in the quiet room, surrounded by his childhood trophies and her fresh tears, both testament to different kinds of achievement. Below, he can hear Hannah and Eleanor in the kitchen, their voices a soft murmur of cleanup and concern. "Should we go help with dinner?" he suggests finally. Lily nods, sliding off the bed. She hesitates, then takes his hand. Her small fingers wrap around his with innocent trust, offering a chance he knows he doesn't deserve, but desperately wants to earn. They descend the stairs together, each step carrying them toward whatever comes next. Lucas knows there will be more mistakes, more awkward moments, more battles between his old life and this new reality. But for now, his daughter's hand in his feels like anchor and compass both, guiding him toward the person he needs to become. In the kitchen, Hannah looks up from wiping the counter. Her eyes find their linked hands, and something in her expression shifts. Not forgiveness, not yet, but perhaps the beginning of possibility. "There's more cranberry sauce in the fridge," she says quietly, "if you two want to try again." Lucas meets her gaze over Lily's head, reading the layers of meaning in her words. "We'd like that," he says. "Together this time." Lily squeezes his hand, and Lucas squeezes back, a silent promise passing between them. The night stretches ahead, full of potential disasters and small victories, but for once in his life, Lucas Mitchell isn't calculating odds or planning exits. He's exactly where he needs to be, covered in cranberry sauce, and learning to build something far more precious than any empire. Lucas's penthouse feels smaller tonight, the floor-to-ceiling windows pressing in like prison walls. He paces before the glass, Manhattan's lights blurring into streaks of neon and shadow. His tablet lies dark on his desk, quarterly reports forgotten beneath a tumbler of untouched bourbon. 5 days until Christmas. 5 days until he faces Hannah and Lily. The thought stops him mid-stride, his reflection fragmenting across the window's surface. A father. The word still feels foreign, like code in an unfamiliar language. He retrieves his old phone from the safe behind his awards wall, where it's gathered dust alongside stock certificates and his Harvard diploma. The device powers on with a soft chime, illuminating his face in its pale glow. His thumb hovers over the archived messages folder, trembling slightly before he makes contact. Hannah's name appears first, followed by dates that feel like artifacts from another life. He scrolls through their digital history, each message a snapshot of their disintegration. "Working late again? I made dinner." "The gallery showing went well. Wish you could have been there. Lucas, we need to talk. Really talk, not just between meetings." His jaw tightens as he reaches the final weeks of their relationship. Hannah's messages grow shorter, more distant, like stars winking out one by one. "Don't wait up. I understand. Work comes first. Maybe it's better this way." The last message hits him like a physical blow. "I can't keep waiting for you to choose us." Us. Had she known then? Had she been trying to tell him about Lily? Lucas drops onto his leather couch, the phone's glow casting harsh shadows across his features. He opens their email history, searching for clues he might have missed. There, buried in his archived folder, an email from Hannah dated 6 months after she left. His breath catches as he reads, "Lucas, I've tried calling your office. Your assistant says you're always in meetings. Maybe that's true. Maybe you're just avoiding me. Either way, I need you to know something. Raising Lily alone isn't easy. She asks questions I don't know how to answer. Last week, she drew a family picture for school, just her and me. The teacher asked about her daddy. Lily said you were too busy. She's 3 years old, Lucas. She shouldn't have to understand concepts like too busy. I'm not writing to make you feel guilty. I made my choice when I left, just like you made yours every time you chose your company over us. But Lily deserves better. She deserves to know her father if he ever decides she's worth his time. Hannah. Lucas's hand shakes as he sets the phone down. The city spreads before him, a glittering empire of glass and steel that suddenly feels hollow. He's built his life around acquisition, companies, properties, success measured in stock prices and market share. But he never acquired the things that mattered most. His reflection stares back at him, fractured across the window's surface. In each fragment, he sees the moments he missed. First steps, first words, first everything. Time he can never reclaim, compressed into ones and zeros in an archived email folder. Lucas reaches for his current phone, fingers hovering over Hannah's contact information. The cursor blinks, waiting. He types, deletes, types again. Hannah, before Christmas I'd like to meet. Just us. There are things I need to say and questions I need to ask. About Lily. About us. About everything. I know I don't deserve your time, but I'm asking anyway. Lucas. He hits send before he can second-guess himself. The message disappears into the digital ether, leaving him alone with his reflection and the weight of 5 years' worth of unasked questions. The bourbon catches the city lights, amber liquid throwing prisms across his desk. Lucas leaves it untouched, turning instead to the wall of windows. Somewhere out there in an apartment he's never seen, his daughter is probably getting ready for bed. Does she have a favorite story? Does she sleep with a nightlight? Does she ever ask about him? His phone buzzes, the screen illuminating with Hannah's response. Tomorrow, 7 p.m., Mom's house. She'll watch Lily. 4 words and an implied command. Hannah's directness hasn't changed. Lucas sends back a simple acknowledgement, then sinks deeper into his chair. Tomorrow. The word echoes in his mind like a countdown, each repetition bringing him closer to a reckoning he can't prepare for with spreadsheets or market analysis. He pulls up his calendar, finger hovering over tomorrow's meetings. For once, the decision comes easily. A few taps and his schedule clears. Jennifer can handle the Singapore call. The board presentation can wait. Tomorrow belongs to harder truths than quarterly projections. Lucas moves to the windows again, pressing his forehead against the cool glass. The city pulses below, indifferent to his internal turmoil. Millions of lights, millions of stories, and somewhere among them, a little girl who carries his DNA and Hannah's determination. His old phone chirps with a calendar reminder from 5 years ago. Hannah, gallery opening. He'd missed that night, caught up in an acquisition meeting that seemed crucial at the time. Now, he can't even remember the company's name. Time to face the cost of all those missed moments. Time to see if anything remains in the wreckage of choices made and unmade. Time to learn who his daughter is, beyond the stark facts of her existence. Lucas Mitchell, master of hostile takeovers and market manipulation, feels something unfamiliar stirring in his chest. Hope, fragile as spider silk, strong as steel cable. Tomorrow, he'll begin the hardest negotiation of his life. Not for market share or company assets, but for a chance to repair what his ambition broke. The night deepens around him as he stands vigil at his window, watching the city's pulse slow to a midnight rhythm. Each light below represents a story, a life being lived. For the first time in years, Lucas wants more than to observe from his glass tower. He wants to be part of a story that matters more than profit margins and stock prices, a story that begins tomorrow at 7 o'clock in his mother's house. The morning passes in a blur of mechanical motions. Lucas moves through his routine like a man underwater, every action slightly delayed, slightly distorted. His usual precise schedule dissolves into a series of approximations. Somewhere around 9, he thinks he approved a merger proposal. Around 11, he might have sat through a budget meeting. Lunch appears and disappears from his desk, untouched. Jennifer hovers in his doorway twice, concern evident in her carefully neutral expression. He waves her away both times, unable to explain what he can barely understand himself. At 6:30, Lucas stands before his closet, staring at rows of tailored suits. Everything feels wrong, too formal, too corporate, too much like armor. He finally settles on dark jeans and a charcoal cashmere sweater, an outfit that speaks of careful casualness. His reflection in the mirror looks foreign. Lucas Mitchell dressed down, defenses lowered. The drive to his mother's house passes in a series of disconnected images, brake lights bleeding into the winter darkness, that bare trees casting skeleton shadows across frosted lawns, his own knuckles white against the steering wheel. He arrives 10 minutes early, killing the engine, but remaining in the car's quiet sanctuary. Light spills from his mother's front windows, warm and welcoming. Hannah's car sits in the driveway, a sensible sedan that speaks of practical choices and adjusted expectations. Lucas checks his reflection in the rearview mirror, running a hand through his carefully styled hair. The gesture feels adolescent, reminiscent of first dates and uncertain outcomes. The front door opens before he reaches it. Eleanor Mitchell stands aside wordlessly, her expression a complex mixture of hope and apprehension. The house smells of cinnamon and coffee, comforting scents that catch in Lucas's throat. "She's in the living room," Eleanor says softly, touching his arm as he passes. "I'll be upstairs with Lily." Lucas nods, unable to form words. The short walk to the living room feels infinite, each step carrying the weight of 5 years' worth of absence. Hannah stands by the fireplace, one hand resting on the mantel. She's traded her usual business casual for jeans and a soft sweater, her dark hair falling in waves past her shoulders. The sight hits him with unexpected force. She looks both exactly the same and completely different, like a familiar photograph viewed from a new angle. "Hannah." Her name comes out rough, unpracticed. She turns, brown eyes meeting his with steady directness. "Lucas." They stand in silence, 5 years of unspoken words filling the space between them. The clock on the mantel ticks steadily, marking time in measured increments. Finally, Hannah speaks. "Why did you want to meet?" Direct, as always. Lucas moves further into the room, maintaining a careful distance. "I've been reading our old messages, emails, things I should have seen at the time. Things you were too busy to see." The words carry no anger, just stated fact. "Yes." Lucas swallows hard, including an email about Lily, about how hard it was, raising her alone. Hannah's posture shifts slightly, defensive. "I sent that email 3 years ago. I know, I never opened it, not until last night." The admission costs him, each word like gravel in his throat. "I was busy," Hannah finishes. "You were always busy, Lucas, building your empire, making your mark on the world. How's that working out for you?" The question lands like a slap. Lucas moves to the window, watching snow begin to fall in the darkness outside. "I have everything I thought I wanted," he says finally, "and nothing that matters." Hannah makes a soft sound, something between disbelief and recognition. "Why now? Why after 5 years?" Lucas turns back to face her, forcing himself to meet her steady gaze. "Because I need to understand. Everything. Why you left without telling me about Lily. Why you kept her a secret. Why you're here now. You really don't know?" Hannah pushes away from the fireplace, closing the distance between them. "You were never there, Lucas." "Not really. Even when you were physically present, your mind was always somewhere else. The next deal, the next acquisition, the next rung on your corporate ladder. I tried to tell you I was pregnant 3 times, but you were always in meetings, always had something more important to handle." The words hit him like body blows, each one exposing a truth he's avoided facing. "I would have helped if I'd known." "Would you?" Hannah's voice sharpens. "The way you helped with everything else? Throwing money at problems and calling it solved? I didn't want your financial support, Lucas. I wanted a partner, a father for my child, someone who could put family before profit margins, at least occasionally." Lucas flinches, recognizing the truth in her words. How many times had he tried to solve personal problems with his checkbook? How many missed dinners and broken promises had he attempted to patch with expensive gifts? "I want to be that person now," he says quietly. "For Lily, for..." He hesitates, then continues. "For us, if there's anything left to salvage." Hannah studies him, her expression unreadable. "Pretty words, Lucas, but words are easy, actions are harder. Are you really ready to put someone else first? To show up for school plays and sick days? To be present, not just physically, but emotionally?" "I don't know," he admits, the honesty surprising them both. "I don't know how to be a father. I don't know if I can change 38 years of habits overnight, but I want to try. I need to try." Something shifts in Hannah's eyes, a softening almost imperceptible. "Why?" "Because last night, reading that email about Lily's family drawing, just you and her, I realized something. I've spent my whole life acquiring things, companies, properties, success, but I never learned how to hold on to what matters. I want to learn. I need to learn before it's too late." Hannah moves to the couch, sinking down onto its familiar cushions. After a moment, she gestures for Lucas to join her. He sits carefully, maintaining a respectful distance. Lily asks about you, Hannah says finally. Not often, but sometimes. She sees other kids with their dads at the park, at school events. She's starting to understand that something's missing in her life. The words cut deep, exposing raw nerves Lucas didn't know he had. What do you tell her? The truth, as much as a 5-year-old can understand it. That her daddy works very hard, that he lives in the city, that sometimes grown-ups make choices that hurt other grown-ups without meaning to. Lucas closes his eyes, feeling the weight of each word. Does she hate me? No. Hannah's voice softens. She's 5, Lucas. She doesn't hate anyone. She's just curious, confused. She has your eyes, and your focus. When she gets interested in something, nothing can distract her. The observation catches him off guard, an unexpected connection to this child he barely knows. What else? He asks, his voice rough. What else about her should I know? Hannah's expression shifts, something almost like a smile touching her lips. She loves dinosaurs, but only the herbivores. She thinks meat eaters are bullies. She can spend hours building with her blocks, creating entire cities with their own complex transit systems. She names all her stuffed animals after scientists. Her favorite bear is Tesla. Each detail fills in another piece of the puzzle that is his daughter, creating a picture that simultaneously thrills and terrifies him. This little person, half him and half Hannah, growing and learning and becoming while he chased corporate success. I want to know her, Lucas says quietly. Really know her, not just facts and statistics. I want to be part of her life if you'll let me. If she'll let me. Hannah is silent for a long moment, studying him with those direct brown eyes that have always seen through his defenses. It won't be easy, she says finally. You can't just show up when it's convenient or throw money at problems and consider them solved. She needs consistency, stability. She needs a father who shows up even when it's inconvenient, especially when it's inconvenient. I know. Lucas meets her gaze steadily. I'm ready to do the work, whatever it takes. We'll see. Hannah stands, smoothing her sweater with practiced motions. Actions, Lucas, not words. Show us you mean it. Before he can respond, a small noise draws their attention to the doorway. Lily stands there in her pajamas, clutching her stuffed bear. Tesla, Lucas thinks with an unexpected surge of emotion. Eleanor hovers behind her, looking apologetic. She couldn't sleep, Eleanor explains softly. She knew you were both down here. Lily takes a tentative step into the room, her eyes, his eyes, moving between her parents. Are you fighting? She asks, her voice small but clear. No, sweetheart, Hannah says quickly. We're just talking, grown-up talk. Lily considers this, her expression serious. About me? Lucas feels something crack in his chest, a fissure in the careful walls he's built around his emotions. Before he can think better of it, he slides from the couch to kneel at Lily's eye level. Yes, he says honestly. About you, and about how I'd like to be a better daddy, if you'll let me try. Lily studies him with an intensity that reminds him painfully of Hannah. Do you know about dinosaurs? She asks finally. A laugh escapes him, unexpected and genuine. Not much, but I'd like to learn. Lily nods, as if this answer satisfies some internal criteria. She takes a step closer, still clutching Tesla. The plant eaters are the best ones, she informs him seriously. They work together and take care of each other. Like families should, Lucas says softly, the words emerging from some deep, previously untapped well of understanding. Something flickers in Hannah's expression as she watches their interaction. Not quite trust, not yet, but perhaps the possibility of it. Lily yawns, swaying slightly on her feet. Time for bed, little one, Hannah says, moving to scoop her up. Say goodnight to Lucas. Lily regards him solemnly over her mother's shoulder. Good night, Lucas, she says, then adds with 5-year-old directness, Are you coming to Christmas? Lucas glances at Hannah, seeing the answer in her slight nod. Yes, he says. I'll be here for Christmas. Good. Lily nestles against Hannah's shoulder, already half asleep. You can meet all my dinosaurs. As Hannah carries their daughter upstairs, Lucas remains kneeling on the carpet, overwhelmed by the simple acceptance in Lily's words. Eleanor squeezes his shoulder as she passes, following Hannah up the stairs. Lucas turns from the mantel, his eye catching something tucked behind a family photo, the corner of a worn book peeking out. He pulls it free carefully, recognition hitting him like a physical blow. A handmade scrapbook, its cover decorated with careful child's letters, Our Memories. His hands shake as he opens it. The first page shows Lily at maybe 3 years old, dark curls wild around her face as she grins at the camera. She's holding a stuffed dinosaur, not Tesla, an earlier companion, and wearing a shirt that says Future Scientist. Behind the photo, Hannah's familiar handwriting fills the margin. Another milestone without you. I keep hoping one day you'll understand what you're missing. Not just the big moments, but the small ones. The way she laughs when she discovers something new. How she insists on wearing her lab coat, really just a white jacket, to dinner. The questions she asks that I don't know how to answer, especially, why doesn't Daddy want to know me? Lucas sinks onto the couch, turning pages with trembling fingers. Each one documents another moment he missed. Lily's first day of preschool, her 4th birthday party with its dinosaur theme, her proudly displaying a science fair project about plant growth. A loose photo slips from between the pages. Lucas catches it before it can fall, his breath catching. It shows Lily standing before a museum's dinosaur exhibit, her face alight with wonder. On the back, Hannah's neat script reads, I hope someday you'll understand that some things matter more than success. That love isn't measured in market shares or profit margins. That while you were building your empire, you missed watching your daughter build her own worlds out of blocks and dreams and endless questions about why the sky is blue. The truth of it hits him with crushing force. He's been so focused on acquiring things, companies, properties, power, that he missed acquiring the only things that truly matter. Moments, memories, the chance to watch his daughter discover the world. Lucas stands abruptly, moving to the window. Snow falls steadily now, wrapping the world in quiet possibility. Behind him, soft footsteps announce Hannah's return. I found this, he says without turning, holding up the scrapbook. All these moments I missed. There are more books, Hannah says quietly, one for each year. Lucas turns to face her, really face her, letting her see past his carefully constructed walls. I was wrong, he says, his voice rough. About everything. About what matters. About where I should have been putting my time and energy. I've spent 5 years chasing success while missing the most important thing in my life, being a father to our daughter. Hannah's expression softens slightly. Lucas, please, he interrupts, taking a step toward her. I know I don't deserve another chance. I know I've missed so much. But I want to be here now, really here. Not just physically present, but emotionally invested. I want to learn about herbivore dinosaurs and watch her build cities out of blocks. I want to answer her questions, even if I have to learn the answers myself first. He holds up the scrapbook. I want to be part of making new memories, not just looking at the ones I missed. Hannah studies him for a long moment, her eyes searching his face. You can't just throw money at this, Lucas. Being a father means showing up. It means missing meetings sometimes. It means putting someone else's needs before your company's stock price. I know. Lucas sets the scrapbook down carefully. I'm ready to do that. To be that person. To make different choices. A sound from the doorway draws their attention. Lily stands there again, Tesla clutched tight against her chest. Instead of shooing her back to bed, Hannah holds out her hand. Their daughter crosses to them, her small fingers wrapping around Hannah's. Would you like to show Lucas your favorite picture? Hannah asks softly. Lily nods, reaching for the scrapbook with her free hand. She flips pages with familiar ease, stopping at a photo of herself in oversized safety goggles, conducting what appears to be a very serious experiment with baking soda and vinegar. This is when I did science, she announces proudly. Mom says you do science too, but with computers. Lucas kneels beside her, careful to maintain a respectful distance. That's right, but your science looks much more exciting than mine. Lily considers this, her expression serious. Maybe you could do science with me sometime? The question hangs in the air, heavy with possibility. Lucas glances at Hannah, seeing the slight nod of permission. I'd like that very much, he says softly. Tomorrow? Lily asks, hope clear in her voice. Tomorrow. The word carries weight, promise, responsibility. Lucas thinks of his scheduled meetings, the pending acquisition, the board's expectations. Then he looks at his daughter's face, his eyes, Hannah's determined chin, and makes the first of what he hopes will be many different choices. Tomorrow, he agrees. We can do all the science you want. Hannah's hand settles on Lily's shoulder, her expression guarded but not closed. Small steps, she says quietly. Lucas nods, understanding the warning in her tone. Small steps. Building trust one moment at a time, creating new memories to fill future scrapbooks. Lily yawns widely, prompting Hannah to scoop her up. Say goodnight to Lucas, she says softly. Night-night, Lily mumbles, already half asleep. Don't forget about science tomorrow. I won't forget, Lucas promises, the words feeling like a vow. As Hannah carries their daughter upstairs, Lucas remains in the living room, the scrapbook open before him. Snow continues to fall outside, wrapping the world in possibilities. Tomorrow brings his first real test, choosing Lily over work, presence over profit, love over empire building. For the first time in years, Lucas Mitchell feels the stirring of something foreign but welcome in his chest. Hope, fragile as a child's first steps, strong as a father's newfound purpose. Small steps indeed, but in the right direction, finally. The sun hasn't yet crested the horizon when Lucas pulls into his mother's driveway, gravel crunching beneath the Tesla's tires. He checks his watch, 6:45 a.m., earlier than necessary perhaps, but sleep had proven elusive, his mind cycling through memories of yesterday's revelation and the small, solemn face that carries his eyes. He finds Hannah in the kitchen, dark hair pulled back, methodically preparing what appears to be pancake batter. She startles when he clears his throat, some of the mixture sloshing over the bowl's edge. You're early, she says, recovering quickly. The morning light catches the silver chain around her neck, the one he gave her years ago, he realizes with a jolt. I thought. Lucas pauses, uncertain how to articulate the restless energy that drove him here before dawn. I thought I could help. With breakfast, or whatever needs doing. Hannah's wooden spoon stills. You cook now? I can learn. He shrugs off his coat, draping it over a kitchen chair. Lily will be up soon? Usually around 7. She likes to paint before breakfast. Hannah's tone softens slightly. There's an easel set up in the sunroom. Lucas nods, absorbing this detail about his daughter with the same intensity he usually reserves for quarterly reports. What does she paint? Everything. Nothing. Whatever catches her eye. Hannah resumes stirring, but her movements seem less rigid. She has your focus when she gets started on something. The comparison lands like a physical weight in Lucas's chest. He moves to the counter, maintaining a careful distance as he reaches for another mixing bowl. Show me how to help. Hannah eyes him for a moment, then pushes the pancake recipe across the granite surface. Try not to burn anything. The next hour passes in a dance of domestic collaboration. Lucas learns the proper consistency for pancake batter, only overbeating one batch. Hannah corrects his technique without the sharp edge he probably deserves. When small footsteps echo from upstairs, they both freeze, looking toward the ceiling. Lily appears in the doorway, already dressed in paint-splattered overalls, her dark curls wild from sleep. She studies the scene before her with that unnerving solemnity Lucas is beginning to recognize as inherited. You're still here, she says to Lucas, clutching her stuffed rabbit closer. I am. He wipes flour from his hands, fighting the urge to retreat behind his CEO persona. Your mom says you like to paint in the mornings? Lily nods slowly. Would it be okay if I watched? Maybe you could teach me about colors? Hannah's sharp intake of breath is almost imperceptible. Lily tilts her head, considering him with an intensity that feels familiar. He's seen it in boardroom mirrors. Okay, she decides finally. But you have to be careful with the brushes. They're special. Lucas follows his daughter to the sunroom, aware of Hannah watching them from the kitchen doorway. Morning light streams through the windows, catching dust motes and making them dance. An easel stands in the corner, surrounded by cups of water and scattered tubes of paint. Lily settles onto a small stool, arranging her supplies with practiced precision. Lucas kneels beside her, ignoring the protest of his Italian wool trousers against the hardwood floor. This is blue, Lily announces, holding up a tube, but not regular blue. It's cerulean. She pronounces the word carefully, pride evident in her voice. It's beautiful, Lucas says, meaning it. What are you going to paint with it? The sky. Lily squeezes a dollop onto her palette. But you need white too, for the clouds. See? She demonstrates, mixing the colors with delicate focus. Lucas watches, entranced, as his daughter creates her own morning sky on the paper before her. Her small hands move with surprising confidence, each stroke deliberate. When she offers him a brush, he accepts it like a peace offering. Start here, she instructs, pointing to a corner of the paper. Gentle, like butterfly wings. The CEO of Mitchell Technologies follows his 5-year-old daughter's painting instructions with more care than he's ever given a board presentation. They work in companionable silence, broken only by Lily's occasional corrections of his technique. That's a beautiful shade of blue, he says when she adds another layer to the sky. Lily beams, the first real smile he's seen from her. Something in Lucas's chest constricts, then expands. From the doorway, Hannah watches their progress, her expression unreadable. But when Lucas glances up, she doesn't look away. The days settle into an unexpected rhythm. Lucas arrives early each morning, learning the quiet routines of his daughter's world. He masters pancake batter and discovers that Lily prefers her toast cut into triangles, never squares. During their painting sessions, she teaches him the names of colors he never knew existed: cerulean, vermilion, ochre, each one a small bridge between them. Hannah's wariness begins to thaw, degree by degree. She still watches him carefully, but her corrections grow gentler, sometimes even tinged with humor. When he successfully makes dinner without setting off the smoke alarm, a simple pasta dish, but still, she actually laughs. Mitchell Technologies' CEO can boil water, she teases. Alert the shareholders. Lucas finds himself doing things he never imagined, folding tiny clothes, learning the proper way to secure pigtails, discovering that stuffed rabbits must be tucked in just so. The endless emails and meeting requests on his phone feel increasingly distant, like artifacts from another life. But the outside world refuses to stay at bay forever. The crisis arrives on a Tuesday evening, just as Lucas is helping Lily arrange her latest masterpiece on the refrigerator. His phone buzzes with Jennifer Thompson's distinctive ringtone, the one reserved for genuine emergencies. Lucas. Jennifer's voice carries the tight control he recognizes from their worst days. We've been breached. The Singapore servers. He listens, feeling the familiar weight of responsibility settle across his shoulders. Behind him, Lily chatters about her painting's color choices. Hannah moves around the kitchen, preparing dinner with the comfortable efficiency he's come to admire. How bad? He asks quietly. Bad enough that the board is convening an emergency session. We need you here. Lucas closes his eyes. When he opens them, Hannah is watching him, wooden spoon frozen mid-stir. She knows that look. She's seen it before, 5 years ago, when the company's IPO consumed him. I have to go, he says, the words tasting like defeat. There's a situation at work. Of course there is. Hannah's tone could freeze water. Some things never change. Hannah, this is different. It's a serious breach. It's always serious, Lucas. It was serious 5 years ago, too. She sets the spoon down with careful precision. Go. We both know you will anyway. Lily looks up from her artwork, uncertainty clouding her features. You're leaving? The question hits harder than any board interrogation. Just for a little while, sweetheart. I need to help some people at work, but I'll be back. When? Hannah's question cuts through his reassurance. Tomorrow? Next week? Another 5 years? That's not fair. No, it wasn't fair 5 years ago either. Hannah moves between him and Lily, a protective instinct he recognizes too late. But at least then it was only me you were disappointing. The words land like physical blows. Lucas looks at his daughter, at the painting they just hung together, at the life he's barely begun to understand. His phone buzzes again, Jennifer, probably with more bad news. I'll be back tonight, he promises, as soon as I can. Don't make promises you can't keep. Hannah's voice catches slightly. Not to her. Lily clutches her stuffed rabbit, watching him with those hazel eyes, his eyes, filling with tears she's too proud to let fall. Lucas feels something inside him crack. He makes it halfway to his car before the weight of his choice hits him fully. Through the kitchen window, he can see Hannah gathering Lily close, their dark heads bent together in a familiar tableau of comfort, a comfort necessitated by his absence. His phone buzzes again. The name on the screen, Jennifer Thompson, COO, suddenly seems less like a symbol of success and more like a chain. Lucas stands in the gathering dusk, caught between the warm light of the kitchen and the demanding glow of his phone. The choice he makes now will define more than just this moment. He knows that with CEO-level clarity. The hours at the office blur together in a haze of crisis management and damage control. Jennifer keeps him updated on the breach, their security team working overtime to contain the damage. Board members call in from around the globe, demanding explanations and action plans. It's the kind of situation he usually thrives in. But tonight, every decision feels hollow, every strategy meeting an exercise in missing the point. At midnight, Jennifer appears in his office doorway. The immediate threat is contained. The team can handle the rest of the cleanup. Lucas stares at his monitors, seeing instead Lily's tear-bright eyes, Hannah's resigned expression. "What am I doing, Jennifer?" She steps into the office, closing the door. "Your job. The job you built this company to do." "And what about the other job?" He turns to face her. "The one I didn't even know I had until a few days ago?" Jennifer settles into the chair across from him. "You know, when I first started working for you, I thought you were the most focused person I'd ever met. Nothing could distract you from building this company." She pauses. "I'm not sure that was entirely a compliment." Lucas runs a hand through his hair, feeling the perfect styling dissolve. "I missed 5 years of my daughter's life because I was focused. So don't miss any more." The words hang in the air between them, simple and devastating in their truth. Lucas looks around his office, the awards on the walls, the view of Manhattan he paid millions for, the empire he built on dedication and sacrifice. "I need to take a leave of absence," he says, the decision crystallizing even as he speaks it, effective immediately. Jennifer doesn't look surprised. "I assumed this was coming. I've already drafted the paperwork." "You knew?" She smiles slightly. "I've seen you these past few days, Lucas. You're different. Better, maybe. The board won't like it, but they'll survive. The question is, will you survive if you don't do this?" Lucas thinks of Lily's careful color mixing, of Hannah's guarded hope, of the family he's just beginning to understand. "I won't survive if I lose them again." "Then go home." Jennifer stands. "I'll handle things here." "Jennifer?" He stops her at the door. "Thank you." She nods once, understanding passing between them. "Don't waste this chance, Lucas. Some things matter more than quarterly reports." The house is dark when he pulls into the driveway, well past midnight. But a light still burns in the kitchen, and through the window he sees Hannah at the table, hands wrapped around a cooling mug of tea. She looks up when he enters, surprise flickering across her features. You thought I wouldn't come back." He slides into the chair across from her. "You had every reason to think that." "What changed?" "Everything." Lucas meets her gaze steadily. "I just told Jennifer I'm taking a leave of absence. Indefinite." Hannah's mug stills halfway to her lips. "What?" "I'm not going back to that old life. Not if it means losing this one before it really begins." He reaches across the table, not quite touching her hand. "I know I have to earn your trust back, both of you, but I'm ready to do the work." "Lucas," Hannah sets the mug down carefully, "you can't just abandon your company. That's not who you are." "No, but I can't abandon my family either. Not again." He takes a breath. "The company will survive without me for a while. Lily won't. You won't. And I won't survive losing you both again." Silence stretches between them, filled with 5 years of absence and 3 days of possibility. Finally, Hannah speaks, her voice barely above a whisper. "She asked for you at bedtime, wanted you to see her new painting." The words squeeze Lucas's heart. "Is she? She's asleep now. But tomorrow," Hannah meets his eyes, "tomorrow she'll want to show you everything. Are you ready for that? Really ready?" Lucas thinks of board meetings and quarterly reports, of stock prices and market shares. Then he thinks of small hands mixing colors, of pancake batter and triangle-cut toast, of a stuffed rabbit that needs tucking in just so. "Yes," he says simply. "I'm ready." Hannah studies him for a long moment, seeing perhaps the changes that Jennifer noticed, that he himself is just beginning to understand. Finally, she nods. "Then be here in the morning. Early. She likes to paint before breakfast." "I know," Lucas says softly. "I'm learning." They sit in the quiet kitchen, the night settling around them like a blanket. Tomorrow will bring its own challenges, explanations to the board, arrangements for his absence, the continuing work of earning back trust. But for now, in this moment, Lucas Mitchell feels the first real peace he's known in years. Outside, the stars wheel overhead, indifferent to empires and earnings reports. Inside, a CEO learns the true measure of success. counted not in stock prices, but in small hands mixing colors, in trust rebuilt one morning at a time in the quiet miracle of second chances. The morning light creeps across Eleanor Mitchell's hardwood floors, casting long shadows through frost-laced windows. Lucas stands in the kitchen, coffee untouched, watching dawn paint the snow-covered yard in shades of rose and gold. His reflection in the window looks different somehow. Softer around the edges, the sharp lines of CEO authority blurred by something warmer. He adjusts his casual sweater, the cashmere feeling foreign against his skin after years of tailored suits. Behind him, the house creaks and settles, still sleeping. But Lucas has been awake for hours, methodically executing his plan with the same precision he once reserved for corporate takeovers. The dining room table has become his temporary command center, covered in photographs spread out like evidence from another life. Some are his own, corporate headshots, press photos, moments of supposed triumph that now feel hollow. Others came from his mother's carefully preserved collection. Hannah's graduation, their first vacation together, casual snapshots of a happiness he'd been too busy to notice slipping away. But it's the newest photos that stop his breath. Lily's school pictures, birthday parties, first steps, all the moments he should have witnessed firsthand instead of discovering them like artifacts from a parallel universe. His daughter's life documented in 4 by 6 inches of glossy paper, each image a reminder of his absence. Lucas sorts through them with trembling fingers, selecting each one with deliberate care. The photo album before him is expensive leather, custom ordered last week when he realized generic drugstore albums wouldn't do. This gesture needs to be perfect, needs to somehow bridge 5 years of silence with paper and ink and careful calligraphy. "You're up early." Hannah's voice startles him. She stands in the doorway, wrapped in an oversized cardigan, hair still mussed from sleep. For a moment, the sight is so achingly familiar it hurts. How many mornings had they shared like this before he'd chosen conference calls over coffee? "Couldn't sleep," Lucas admits, resisting the urge to hide the photos like guilty evidence. "I wanted to. Prepare." Hannah moves closer, bare feet silent on the hardwood. Her eyes catch on the scattered photographs, and something flickers across her face, pain or nostalgia or both. "Those are from her first day of preschool," she says, gesturing to a stack of pictures showing Lily in a too big backpack. She insisted on wearing her Halloween costume. Wouldn't take it off for a week. Lucas picks up the photo, studying his daughter's beaming face beneath a crooked tiara. What was she? A CEO. Hannah's laugh holds an edge. Said she wanted to be just like the important people in the tall buildings. I didn't have the heart to tell her. The words hang between them, heavy with unspoken accusations. Lucas sets the photo down carefully, his throat tight. Hannah, I don't. She wraps her arms tighter around herself. Not yet. Wait until you're sure you mean it. Lucas nods, understanding the warning beneath her words. He's made promises before, grand gestures swept away by quarterly reports and shareholder meetings. This time has to be different. This time has to last. He returns to his task, carefully placing each photo in the album. Hannah watches for a moment longer before disappearing upstairs, leaving him alone with his archive of missed moments and second chances. The house gradually wakes around him. Eleanor's familiar footsteps on the stairs, the distant sound of Lily's cartoon shows, the smell of coffee replacing pre-dawn silence. Lucas works steadily, adding handwritten captions beneath each photo. His normally precise handwriting wavers occasionally, emotion bleeding through the careful strokes. Morning, sweetheart. Eleanor appears with fresh coffee, studying her son's makeshift workspace. You've been busy. Lucas accepts the coffee without looking up from his task. I need this to be right, Mom. I need them to understand. They will. Eleanor's hand squeezes his shoulder. But remember, Lucas, it's not just about grand gestures. It's about being there tomorrow and the day after and all the ordinary moments in between. The wisdom in her words cuts deep. How many times had he tried to solve personal problems with expensive solutions, thinking he could compensate for absence with extravagance as if love could be measured in dollar signs and quarterly returns? Upstairs, a door opens. Lily's voice drifts down, bright with morning energy. Mommy, can I wear my sparkly shoes today? It's Christmas! Lucas's hands still over the album. Christmas. The word carries weight now, heavy with possibility and fear. Everything changes today, for better or worse, depending on his next moves. He closes the album carefully, running his fingers over the embossed leather. Eleanor watches, something knowing in her expression. "You've changed," she says quietly. "I can see it." "I hope so." Lucas stands, stretching muscles stiff from hours of concentration. "I have to be better. For them. For all of us." The morning progresses with deceptive normalcy. Breakfast dishes clatter, Christmas music plays softly from Eleanor's old radio, Lily's excitement fills the house like sunshine. Lucas moves through it all in a state of heightened awareness, cataloging details he would have missed before. The way Lily cuts her pancakes into precise squares, just like he does. The melody of Hannah's laugh when she's truly amused versus politely entertained. The subtle signs of his mother's arthritis in the way she holds her coffee cup. He retreats to the living room while Hannah helps Lily dress for the day. The Christmas tree stands in the corner, its lights reflecting off ornaments old and new. Lucas approaches it slowly, touching a faded construction paper star near the bottom. "I made that," he says when Eleanor enters. "Third grade, wasn't it?" "Second." She moves to stand beside him. "You were so proud, insisted it had to go front and center where everyone could see it." Lucas studies the crooked star, its glitter long since faded. "I was different then. Before you decided success meant never taking your eyes off the prize?" Eleanor's voice holds no judgment, only understanding. "You can be both, you know, successful and present. It's not an either-or proposition." "How?" The question escapes before he can stop it. "How do I balance it all? The same way you built your empire, one day at a time." Eleanor straightens the star slightly, but this time, remember that some investments can't be measured in stock prices. Footsteps on the stairs interrupt them. Lily appears first, resplendent in a red velvet dress and the promised sparkly shoes. Hannah follows, and Lucas's heart stutters at the sight of her. She's chosen a simple green sweater dress, but something about the way she carries herself, more confident than he remembers, more self-possessed, makes it impossible to look away. "You look beautiful," he says, the words escaping before he can filter them through his usual careful control. "Both of you." Lily twirls, showing off her shoes. "Mommy said I could wear them all day, even though they're not outside shoes." "Special occasion," Hannah explains, but her eyes meet Lucas's over their daughter's head. Something passes between them. Recognition, perhaps, of how many special occasions they've missed sharing. The morning unfolds in a series of small moments, each one feeling simultaneously ordinary and monumental. Lucas helps Lily arrange her new toys under the tree, listening to her explain the complex relationships between various stuffed animals. Hannah moves through the kitchen, helping Eleanor prepare Christmas dinner, their movements choreographed by years of shared holidays. Lucas missed. He finds himself stealing glances at them, mentally rehearsing the speech he's prepared. The words feel simultaneously inadequate and overwhelming. How do you apologize for 5 years of absence? How do you promise to be better without sounding like every other empty promise you've made? Around noon, Eleanor shoos them all out of the kitchen. "Go, go! I need space to work my magic." And Lucas, she fixes him with a knowing look. "Take your time. Some things can't be rushed." Lucas leads them to the living room, his heart pounding against his ribs like a teenager before his first presentation. The photo album sits on the coffee table where he left it, its leather surface catching the Christmas tree lights. "I have something," he begins, then stops. Starts again. "I want to show you both something." Lily bounces onto the couch, clearly expecting another present. But Hannah hangs back, wariness creeping into her posture. She's seen his grand gestures before, has learned to distrust anything that feels too polished, too prepared. Lucas picks up the album with hands that refuse to remain steady. "I've been thinking about time," he says carefully. "About moments. The ones I missed and the ones I want to be part of going forward." He opens the album and Lily leans forward with interest. The first page shows Hannah's graduation, her smile bright and unguarded. "You were so beautiful," Lucas says softly. "I remember thinking I was the luckiest man alive, but I was too focused on the next deal to say it out loud." Hannah's breath catches audibly. Lucas turns the page, revealing more moments. Their first apartment, holiday parties, quiet Sunday mornings captured in candid shots. "I had everything," he continues, his voice roughening. And I threw it away for quarterly reports and market shares. Lucas, Hannah starts, but he holds up a hand. Please, I need to say this. He turns another page, and now they're looking at Lily's photos. Her first steps, first words, first everything, all captured without him. I missed so much, too much, and I know I can never get those moments back. Lily traces a photo of herself in a princess costume. That's my birthday. I got a bicycle. You did, Lucas agrees, his throat tight. And I should have been there to teach you how to ride it. I should have been there for everything. He looks up at Hannah, meeting her eyes directly. I know I hurt you, both of you. I chose my company over our family, and I told myself it was for the best, that I was building something important, something that would make you proud. But I was wrong, so wrong. Hannah sinks onto the couch, her fingers twisting in her lap. Lucas, we can't go back. I don't want to go back. He sets the album aside, turning to face them fully. I want to go forward. I want to be here for the moments that matter, the big ones and the small ones, the celebrations and the ordinary Tuesday mornings. I want to know Lily's favorite color and what makes her laugh and which stuffed animal she can't sleep without. I want to prove to you that I've changed, not with words or promises or expensive gestures, but with time and presence and consistency. Lily looks between them, sensing the weight of the moment, even if she doesn't fully understand it. Like when you helped me build my tower yesterday? Exactly like that, sweetheart. Lucas's voice cracks on the endearment. I want to help build all your towers. I want to be your father, if you'll let me. Not just in name or on paper, but in all the ways that matter. Hannah's eyes shine with unshed tears. You can't just sweep in with a beautiful speech and expect... I don't. Lucas reaches for her hand, relief flooding through him when she doesn't pull away. I expect it to be hard. I expect to make mistakes. I expect you to doubt me, and I expect to have to prove myself every single day. But I'm ready for that. I'm ready to put in the work, to show up, to be present in ways I never was before. And what about Mitchell Technologies? Hannah's question cuts to the heart of their past conflicts. What happens the next time there's a crisis or a merger, or I've already handled it? Lucas squares his shoulders. I've promoted Jennifer to CEO. I'll stay on as chairman of the board, but my days of 70-hour work weeks are over. I'm choosing us this time. I'm choosing family. The silence that follows feels electric, charged with possibility and fear and cautious hope. Lily, apparently deciding the mood needs lightening, pulls the photo album onto her lap. Can we take new pictures? She asks. With all of us this time? Hannah's fingers tighten around Lucas's, and he realizes she hasn't let go. Maybe, she says softly. We'll see. It's not forgiveness, not yet, but it's a beginning, a crack in the walls they've built between them. Lucas squeezes her hand gently, understanding all the things she isn't saying. They have so much to work through and so many conversations ahead. But for now, this moment is enough. Eleanor appears in the doorway, wiping her hands on her apron. Dinner's almost ready, she announces, her eyes taking in their linked hands with poorly concealed hope. They move to the dining room together, Lily skipping ahead with the photo album clutched to her chest. The table gleams with Eleanor's best china, generations of Mitchell family holidays captured in porcelain and crystal. Lucas pulls out chairs for Hannah and Lily, the gesture automatic but weighted with new meaning. As they settle in, sunlight streaming through frost-edged windows, Lucas looks at his family, the one he almost lost, the one he's fighting to rebuild. Hannah catches his eye across cranberry sauce and candlelight, her expression softening into something that might, with time and trust, become forgiveness. Lily chatters about her new toys. Eleanor serves perfectly roasted turkey, and slowly, carefully, they begin to write a new chapter together. Not erasing the past, but building on it, growing from it, learning to be a family in all the ways that matter. Later, as evening settles over the snow-covered yard, they gather in the living room. Lily convinces Lucas to help build another block tower, this one reaching precariously toward the ceiling. Hannah watches from the couch, her guard lowering incrementally with each careful block placement, each patient explanation, each genuine laugh. "Higher, Daddy!" Lily demands, and the word sends shockwaves through the room. Lucas freezes, block in hand, looking to Hannah for guidance. She nods almost imperceptibly, and Lucas breathes again. "Okay, sweetheart," he says, his voice rough with emotion. "Let's build it as high as we can." The tower eventually falls, of course, but they rebuild it together, stronger this time, more stable. Just like the family, they're slowly becoming at one careful piece at a time. As Christmas night deepens into star-scattered darkness, Lucas Mitchell looks at his daughter sleeping on the couch, his mother humming carols in the kitchen, and Hannah curled in an armchair with a book. The scene burns itself into his memory. Not a photograph this time, but a living, breathing moment he's finally present enough to appreciate. Tomorrow will bring challenges. There will be difficult conversations, moments of doubt, old wounds that need gentle healing. But tonight, in this warm room filled with possibility, Lucas Mitchell understands what true success feels like. It's not measured in stock prices or market shares, but in the steady rhythm of his daughter's breathing, in Hannah's quiet smile over her book, in the knowledge that he's exactly where he needs to be. The empire he built still stands, but now he's building something far more precious, a family, pieced together with patience and presence and love. It's harder work than any corporate merger, more complex than any market analysis. But as he watches his daughter dream and his almost maybe family exist in comfortable silence, Lucas knows it's the most important work he'll ever do. Outside, snow begins to fall, each flake catching Christmas lights like tiny stars. Inside, a family takes its first tentative steps toward wholeness, proving that some things, even broken things, even lost things, can be rebuilt with enough time, enough care, enough love. Lucas settles into an armchair, content for once to simply be present in the moment. Tomorrow will bring its own challenges, its own opportunities for growth and change. But tonight, watching the snow fall and his family breathe, he understands that the greatest success stories aren't written in boardrooms or on stock tickers. They're written in quiet moments like these, in careful choices and second chances, in the brave space between what was and what could be. And for the first time in his life, Lucas S. Mitchell is ready to write that story, one precious moment at a time. 1 year later, the changes are subtle but profound. Lucas pushes Lily on the swings at Central Park, her laughter carrying across the late autumn air. Hannah sits nearby on a checkered blanket, grading papers for her literature class, occasionally glancing up to share a smile with him. Eleanor joins them with a picnic basket, her silver hair catching the sunlight. She settles beside Hannah, pulling out sandwiches and thermoses of hot chocolate. The scene is ordinary in its perfection. A family on a Sunday afternoon, enjoying each other's company without agenda or expectation. "Higher, Daddy," Lily calls, and Lucas obliges, pushing the swing with careful strength. The word doesn't shock him anymore, doesn't feel foreign on his tongue when he responds. It's simply who he is now, a father, a partner, a man who finally understands that true wealth isn't measured in zeros on a balance sheet. "Not too high," Hannah calls from the blanket, but her tone holds more amusement than worry. She's learned to trust Lucas's judgment with Lily, just as he's learned to balance caution with fun. The swing slows gradually, and Lily hops off with the fearless grace of childhood. She races to the picnic blanket, cheeks flushed with excitement and exercise. "Grandma, did you bring the special cookies?" "Of course I did." Eleanor produces a container of her famous snickerdoodles, still slightly warm from the oven. "What kind of grandmother would I be if I forgot the cookies?" Lucas settles onto the blanket beside Hannah, close enough to feel her warmth, but not so close as to crowd. They've learned this dance over the past year, the careful choreography of rebuilding trust, of creating something new from the ashes of what was. His phone buzzes in his pocket. A year ago, that sound would have sent him scrambling, mentally calculating time zones and market fluctuations. Now, he simply silences it without looking. Board meetings and quarterly reports can wait. This moment, this ordinary, extraordinary moment, cannot. "Daddy, look!" Lily holds up a stick figure drawing, crayon lines bold against white paper. "It's all of us." Lucas studies the drawing with appropriate gravity. 4 figures stand hand in hand, one tall with a tie, him presumably, one with long dark hair, Hannah, one small with a crown, Lily herself, and one with silver hair and an apron, Eleanor. Above them, a giant sun smiles down on the scene. "It's perfect," he says, and means it. "Should we put it on the fridge when we get home?" Home. The word still catches him sometimes. Not his sterile penthouse or Eleanor's house, but the brownstone he and Hannah bought 6 months ago. It's smaller than his old place, with creaky floors and a temperamental radiator, but it's filled with life and laughter and the organized chaos of family. Hannah leans against his shoulder just slightly as she looks at the drawing. "The art gallery's loss is our gain," she teases, referring to Lily's recent declaration that she no longer wants to be a famous artist when she grows up. "I'm going to be a teacher like Mommy," Lily announces, reaching for another cookie. "And then a CEO like Daddy used to be, but only on Tuesdays and Thursdays." The adults laugh, and Lucas feels the sound rumble through his chest. A year ago, that career plan would have launched him into a lecture about focus and dedication. Now, he simply pulls his daughter close and drops a kiss on her cookie-scented hair. "You can be anything you want to be, sweetheart," he tells her, "and we'll be right here to support you." The afternoon sun slants golden across the park, painting everything in autumn fire. Eleanor packs away the remnants of their picnic while Lily attempts to teach Hannah a complicated clapping game. Lucas watches them, his heart full of a different kind of wealth than he ever imagined for himself. His phone buzzes again, but this time he doesn't even feel the urge to check it. The markets will rise and fall, deals will be made and broken, but these moments, these precious, unrepeatable moments, are the only currency that truly matters. "Ready to head home?" Hannah asks, standing and brushing grass from her jeans. She offers him her hand, an echo of all the times he's offered his to her over the past year. Lucas takes it, letting her pull him up into their shared future. "Ready," he says, and in that single word is a universe of meaning. Ready for home, for family, for love, for all of it. They gather their things, Lily dancing ahead with Eleanor while Hannah and Lucas follow hand in hand. The path winds through the park toward home, toward their life together, toward all the ordinary miracles yet to come. And if anyone had told Lucas Mitchell a year ago that true happiness would look like this, picnics and swing sets and crayon drawings on the fridge, he wouldn't have believed them. But standing here now, watching his daughter's sparkly shoes twirl through autumn leaves, feeling Hannah's hand warm in his, he finally understands. Success isn't a destination. It's not a number or a title or a corner office high above the city. Success is this: showing up, being present, choosing love over ambition, and family over empire. Success is building something that can't be measured in quarterly reports or stock prices. Success is coming home again and again to the people who matter most. The end. Thank you so much for watching and listening to our story. Your time and support mean the world to us. If this video resonated with you, please share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear what you think. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring content. Your engagement helps us grow and continue sharing meaningful stories. See you in the next video.